So I would say ultimately you are selling to a person. It's not an organization making the decision. It's down to people. A person is going to make that decision and they're going to push it internally. They're going to source the budget. They're going to find the internal backing, etc. Who is that person and why would they be interested in giving you the organization's money? But the reason that we made a business out of it is because we chased after users and clients. True for absolutely every business out there. So yes, we do tend to think more from the perspective, build it and they will come, but you have to show them where to come, right? The question for us is what have you done before you actually come to us for money? Because we want to see, we don't like backing companies who are just waiting for a check to start building. It's not how it works. That doesn't show the founder mindset that we're looking for. You normally start doing something and at some point you realize you don't have the finances to back it, and that's when you come to us, as opposed to almost seeking validation from VCs. That's never a good idea.
So I will start with the hard question. Why How to Web? Let's discuss first about your being at How to Web.
That's a very easy question. I love How to Web. It's probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite, startup events overall, not just in the region, but I think it's by far the leading event, at least from the ones I've attended in the region. I love it for a few reasons. I think it's very targeted. So as a VC, my goal is to meet with other VCs as peers to exchange experience and deal flow, etc. My goal is to meet with founders and just generally get updated on technology and investment trends. I get all of that at How to Web. It's been a fantastic experience, extremely busy, but that just goes to say, to speak about the quality of interactions that I've had at the conference. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited.
Nice. I will make a snippet with this and I'll put it on the internet because your energy was like blasting.
Okay.
Good. You're gonna talk on the stage, right?
Yeah.
About?
My area of expertise, which is investment. We'll see exactly how we frame it. But yeah, you can expect me to talk about raising funding at the seed phase or as a company from Eastern Europe. I've also been asked to do this pitch review, so pitch deck review on stage, which is going to be fun. So
hopefully you'll review our pitch.
Stay tuned. Well, we'll see. I guess give an idea to people how we review pitch decks as a fund and myself as an individual investor. So,
okay, good. One thing that I want to understand from your experience, and I hear it a lot because now with Nario we are in full fundraising and we get this question that it's like soul crushing for us. The first one is comparing us with ChatGPT, and you can't answer to that. But the second one is how we see our path to 100 million per year. And as a pre-seed, where we are trying to understand the market and everything, it's so hard to figure out. Like, we make numbers, we calculate, and we look sum and this kind of stuff, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
How VCs are looking to that? You're the first VC I'm discussing about that, so...
Okay. A few things. So first of all, why we asked that question, I don't know if I've asked this directly, but it's definitely something that we evaluate in any company that we look at. It's a very straightforward maths, and it's very simplistic, if you will. 100 million in revenue for the typical technology company that VCs invest in, average 10x multiple for the valuation gives you $1 billion in company value. So this is why we're trying to figure out. We're not asking you how are you going to make this business worth $1 billion. We're asking you how are you going to make 100 million in revenue, which is essentially
sounds more digestible than $1 billion.
That's kind of what we're getting at, and this is basically where our interest comes from. Now, how you answer that question at pre-seed is, whatever answer you give, we understand it's mostly guesswork and it's subject to so many, market conditions, how things are going to evolve with your customers, with your potential competitors, and all that. So it's wildly suggestive at the stage where we discuss it, but we want to see how the company thinks about that. Because it usually gives us a good glimpse of how the business is going to develop. So you start with one product that does one very specific thing usually, or that's my recommendation anyway. So you start with one point, you solve one problem. How does that affect the whole ecosystem? How does that translate into bigger revenues, other products, other business lines, etc.? You rarely build 100 million business on just that one product. That's, I don't think, practically ever the case. So the question is, where can you go from where you're standing right now? Where do you want to go and cover for us the big picture? Now, it's not so much a question about numbers, to be honest, as it is about vision. So this is more of a vision question rather than numbers. I don't know if that answers your question, but we're mostly interested in the vision and how this becomes a category-defining business. So for us, an investment to make sense, it mostly has to be a category-defining proposition. And what I mean by that is, take any given category of software, for example. If we take the foundational AI models, are you going to be the OpenAI, Anthropic, one of those? Or is it something else? Or how you become a company like that? This is what we're interested in. We appreciate that not everybody is going to be OpenAI, right? But we want to see in the specific category that you target, how are you going to be the leading company? One more thing that's probably worth understanding as a founder is that we like businesses that have the potential to become monopolies. Not in the sense to manipulate the market or anything like that, but when you become a monopoly, it means that, first of all, you offer something that others cannot match very easily, and you're good at distribution. So those two things are the key ingredients to building a large, highly growing business. How long you maintain that leadership position is a different story, but to get there, you need to have those two key ingredients. Basically, have something of value that people are willing to pay for and is largely unmatched, and that you're good at bringing it to customers, because it's not just a great product, you also have to bring it to customers. So this is a very long-winded way of saying
it opens so many.
100 million in revenue is to see what's the big vision here. That's it.
Pentru că ai dat de gust, te întrerup să zic că LAUNCHpod dă voce poveștilor de startup-uri românești cu un twist global. Podcastul este o inițiativă a Launch Romania, powered by BCR, cu sprijinul Google și în colaborare cu partenerul nostru fondator, How2Web, și partenerul nostru media, start-up.ro. And this is something that it's challenging, more from the standpoint of someone who is doing more product, and I'm looking more into problem solution fit and trying to solve the people's workflows and life and so on. How you define a vision, or how you look, like how you assess a vision? Because my head goes to the whys of Simon Sinek, or goes to I have a dream speech of Martin Luther King, this kind of stuff. And I'm really curious how you look at the vision as a startup founder, who probably you can see something very broad and big, but at the same time, one of the challenges that I saw some people with very high vision, and I look at them and they are delusional. Like they want to build the next Google of Europe because we want to gather the data in here and the monetization. And I was like, how you start small? Because as you said, you need to start small. How you bridge those things? Because
So one thing I really always appreciate in founders, and it's probably by far the things that I like the best about founders, is that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it in great detail. So it's not just about building the next Google, but how are you going to do that, and why is it you that are going to do that? Those are two very specific things. So you start with the high level vision. This is what we want to become. That's great. We need to kind of buy into that vision and get interested in that vision, so we can start asking the more specific question. Okay, translate that to me in more specific terms. We built product one with this flavor, we sell it to this ideal customer profile, then we go to this ideal customer profile, then we have this feature of the product, and blah, 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 and you expand from there. And the reason why customers are going to buy it is because they have need 1, 2, 3, budget 1, 2, 3, etc. But the best quality in a founder for me, and in a founding team in general, is their deep understanding of the target market and what they're building and why. And all of that translates into me believing in the vision and buying into the vision. So it's not just about
basically it's market.
superlative phrases and overselling me on stuff. That rarely works without this backing of deep understanding and details.
Okay, and these details, it's connected with the specificity. Like I'm thinking now at the B2B level, where you're not selling to one person, you're selling to 3, 4, 5 people because it's a network, it's an economical buyer, user, and so on, and you need to fix all of that. How in great detail you should...
So I would say ultimately you are selling to a person.
Okay.
It's not an organization making the decision, it's down to people. A person is going to make that decision and they're going to push it internally, they're going to source the budget, they're going to find the internal backing, etc. Who is that person and why would they be interested in giving you the organization's money? But yeah, all of the profiles you mentioned are important. So first of all, who is going to use the solution, who is going to pay for it, and why? Again, for both of those, why is a big thing, because if we understand the why, and the why is very strong, like a great why is because they have no other choice, right? And when you're in that situation, it's easy to find the budgets and the timing and all of that. But yeah, we need to understand this one thing we always ask from companies: who is your persona? Who are you working with at your target client to close this deal? And it could be multiple stakeholders, but who are they and how do you build rapport with them? What are their priorities? This is something super important to understand as a startup. Because, for example, I don't know, if you go to a company and tell them, I'm going to cut 10% of your cost with my product, but their main priority in life is how do I increase the revenue by 200%, you have a mismatch. So try to find that match. Always think from the perspective of the client, what their priorities are, what are their needs, because that's what unlocks everything else: budgets, time, adoption, everything.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers the question in enough detail, but the more you can tell us about your target persona and why they act in the way they act and why they will work with you and collaborate with you, the better for us.
Okay. Now I get the sense of it. I understand the 100 million question, and for sure I will ask this question to every VC. I have 2 more VCs to discuss in this podcast, and I will make a mix of all the answers for this question to figure it out. I will
also be curious to find out how others see this. So.
Yeah, probably I will go to each VC. Like in How to Web, I believe that I will do that. Go to each VC and ask him how he assesses the 100 million question. Good. Okay. Let's move on in the discussion. And I'm really curious, what are other things that you're looking into founders? Like besides understanding the market, as you said, having a vision that I understand that it's how they see the market, it will evolve in a better way, more, faster, this sort of stuff. What other things that it needs to have in order to be investable?
I'm going to default to some more generic things, but again, top priority for me is founder understanding of the market and why they're doing what they're doing. Then we go into the market. What's the market situation like? Is it a growing market? What's kind of the stage the market is at? Is it a newly created market or one that is about to be created that's going to grow? Is it an already established market with, a bunch of companies addressing that same market need? Is the market something that people often don't realize? Is the market at the stage of consolidation? So you normally have these cycles where you start with a new idea, it progresses, more and more competitors start emerging, companies grow, etc. And at some point they start acquiring each other and consolidating. Where you are in that cycle is super critical. For us, being at the consolidation phase is less exciting because it usually means that the innovation isn't that disruptive and dramatic. It's more business as usual. So that would be more of a private equity type of play rather than VC.
Okay.
Whereas we are more interested in these new categories, new emerging markets, large markets with an unmet need, stuff like that. So the market is super important, and not so much the current size as the dynamics, as I mentioned. Is it a market that's going towards growth and exploring new solutions, or is it market that's already at the phase of
how a founder can understand that, or how?
What are your clients currently doing? Have they been using some solutions that are subpar currently, but they are kind of stuck with them and have a low motivation to change? Is it a category that's been around for a while, like 5-10 years maybe, and you're bringing a fresh look to that, or are you offering them something completely new? I'm trying to figure out an example to give you. I'll use this company because it's quite easy to understand. It's a company called Ferry Hopper from Greece. They're in a mature market. The Ferry Hopper is a platform for offering ferry tickets. It's digitizing the experience. All the industry, you go to this booth somewhere in a port, you buy a ticket, you go on the ferry. That's kind of the baseline experience. There have been some attempts at digitizing it, nothing that has stuck. So Ferry Hopper comes along and they decide to digitize the experience and basically bring it into the 21st century with a mobile app, with a friendly user experience, all of the different payment options you might want. So this is an example of a company working in a mature market and an established market, but that has an unmet need. Okay. So they are, if you think about Ferry Hopper's market, before they developed the solution of how many ferry tickets are bought and sold online, probably not a lot, right? But that's how they defined the market. And it's something very exciting. And now, because they started, so we invested in them back in 2020. It was quite a controversial bet just before the pandemic.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that.
We knew what was going on, and it was an interesting discussion, but we decided to go ahead with it anyway. So 5 years have passed. Now Ferry Hopper is in the position to think about acquiring competitors or companies in other geographies and stuff like that, and basically grow through acquisitions. Whether we would invest in a company like that nowadays, less likely than back when we invested, right? What other example can I give you of a company that is sort of defining a new category? I'll give you an example of Untitled. It's a company that's they're making a management platform for electric vehicle charging stations. If you think about it, so back when we invested, the market wasn't enormous, right? Because their addressable market is essentially charge points out there. How many charging points were installed back in the day?
Not so many.
Is it a growing market? Is it a market with a trend that will continue to accelerate? Yes, absolutely. So those are two different examples of companies that we evaluated, and that's the type of market dynamic that we look for. So in the first case, it's a market dynamic of people are online. They're not even going online, they are online. This industry isn't online, let's bring it online. So that's one thing. And for Untitled, for example, it was like, it's a small industry now, but it's growing and it's going to continue to grow. So that's where we want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's about the market. I'm going to answer this question.
It's very useful for the listeners because it will put them in a position to understand the concepts. Because some listeners are past developers, they don't have marketing experience, or they don't have these challenges of, how I look at the market, how I understand the market, because in the end, it's about distribution, as you said. And distribution is really, really important, and most of the time it's overlooked because there is that mantra, build it and they will come.
This is a very typical thing for our region, I would say, and founders from the region, because we have strong technical and product backgrounds, not so strong sales backgrounds. So we do tend to think of from the perspective, build a great product. No way people aren't going to buy it. But if people don't know about your product or why it's useful to them, they're not going to buy it. That's normal. So you have to bring it to them and help your clients understand why they need to use you. I used to be a co-founder myself. We created a product from the perspective, this is a great product.
And how it went.
It went well, actually, but it's because very early on, so it's a product for teachers to make their lessons more interactive with the students. So instead of just explaining to them and talking to them about concepts, they would make them active participants in the classroom. And we decided to show it to some teachers very early on to get some feedback. So we did, and that was back in 2009, 2008, 2009, so a while back. Startups weren't that trendy at the time. The lean startup wasn't a thing. So we decided to show it to teachers because we were like, we're working for these people and we make assumptions. Like, we've been students, we've seen teachers, great, we must know what they need, but we decided to actually show it to some real users and see what they think. Turns out they liked it and they actually wanted to pay for it. We didn't start it off as a business idea, but people actually wanted to use it and pay us for it. So that's how we turned it into business. But this kind of exploration, and then these people started recommending to their friends and to their colleagues and stuff like that. So that's how the business grew. But it wasn't because the product was there. You have to have a good product. There's no going around that. But the reason that we made a business out of it is because we chased after users and clients. True for absolutely every business out there. So yes, we do tend to think more from the perspective, build it and they will come, but you have to show them where to come, right?
How you build that mindset? Because I believe that this is something that one of the things that I had to accept is that I will not do product, I will do sales. And I will do founder-led sales, and I need to go out and I start to learn about sales and so on.
As a founder, you really have no choice. I would say do product, because eventually doing the product helps you understand the market. Like, if you want to do a good product, you have to understand the market. So that's kind of part of it. You have to understand buyer motivations. You have to understand dynamics and all of that. But yeah, as a founder, you have to do everything. So by all means, continue doing product. You'd be the best person to evolve the product vision and to sell it. Unfortunately, I know you don't have enough hours in the day to do everything, but you kind of have to as an early stage founder. Then you can hire some people to help you, but at the beginning you have to be there. And how you build a mindset by doing. I'm a very strong believer in you learn only by doing. Almost in no other way you can learn to do anything in life. So how would you build the growth mindset as a founder? You build a product and then you want some money, right? I mean, you have to sustain your company.
Starve.
At some point you do want to hire people to help you. How does that happen when you have money? Where do money come from? The best place to come from is clients. Other places, VC, but VC don't tend to come without the clients. So it's connected. So if you want your business to progress and if you want to keep working on your product and to expand the team and to grow whatever it is you started to grow, you have to start commercializing the thing and grow as a business.
Okay. One thing that I heard from you, and it's interesting that you touched the point of region. I was really curious how you see the CE.
In what perspective?
From the perspective of someone who is investing, and what are the mistakes that we are making? One of them, you said that we are building products and because we are technical and product centric, but what are other things that we mistake and probably we can correct?
I am personally very bullish on the region. I think this is something that we as a team, and I guess all the other investors that you would ask about Eastern Europe, we're super bullish, and I'm personally very bullish about the region because we have a few things. We have skills and capability to build these great companies, not just the product, but also to expand and evolve the business. And we have the grit, we have the motivation, and we are hardworking. So those are the two key ingredients I see in the region amongst all founders. We don't meet that many hype startups in Eastern Europe as you would in Western Europe, for example, or especially in the US. But I like...
It's crazy enough to start it.
Yeah, I like capability and I like hard work. I think that brings results eventually. You need to direct your effort accordingly. So you need to have your eyes and ears opened to the market and address the market needs. But I think the key ingredients are still competence and hard work. So that's what I really like about the market, and I think that's going to bring bigger and better results. And we've already seen a lot of good results in the region. We've actually been doing some small research here internally just to assess our market, because we also do that for ourselves. And there have been quite a few companies. I can get back to you on specific numbers, but there have been many multi-$100 million exits on the market. There have been tens of unicorns from the region. So we're seeing that, and we're seeing every next exit be bigger and better. People who either know about these companies or who have worked in these companies get more and more ambitious, and they're starting their own businesses with bigger ambition and all of that. And we learn from our experience, right? We are historically not that experienced in building and selling businesses. I would say Eastern Europeans are generally very modest people, and we don't like to self-promote, which is kind of something we need to do more.
That's why I was asking, probably that's one of the things why we are not so good at sales, because we don't promote ourselves so much.
Well, it just feels unnatural to us, and I fully get that. It's fine. I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake, but it's just something to work on and to improve. And if we have to bring in external talent for that, so be it. If we have to hire the American people to come and do our marketing, that's fine. Why not? We can do everything ourselves. We just need to know what we're good at, do that, and then seek help for the rest. So, my general attitude is very positive. Very positive.
Very nice to hear that, because one of the things that I see around, it's not so, as you said, not so many people with courage to build something and have the vision of a better world. Most of the time I see, as I said, founders who see a product that has some features and it's a competitor for someone in the market, and I'm selling it cheaper, so I should win the market, but it's not always about the price.
Lisa, I think there's two parts of what you just said. First, about seeing things as features. This is stemming, I think, from not enough customer conversations. As soon as you go to a customer and start talking about features, and you see the other side completely switch off, that you'll have 2 or 3 conversations like that, and then you'll think, okay, this is not working. Let's change something. We do tend to go that way. It's what we understand. We understand product. We understand building things very well. We just need to develop a little bit more empathy, if you will, to understand the other side, who's going to use it and why they're going to pay us. And then ask for our money. This is something else we're not very good at. We need to know our worth, and we need to ask for it in a polite manner. And people are more than happy to pay for a product that works for them and solves a business need. So we need to be comfortable with asking for our money. This is something that I see a lot in founders and everyone in the region. Not everyone, I don't want to generalize too much, but it's common, let's say, that we undersell ourselves. We either put a lower pricing on our product, which is fine for the beginning, by the way. Just a word on pricing. You will always start with the wrong pricing, and there's always room to improve, so that's fine. But be open to that, and don't be afraid to ask for money. You're doing work, and that work is beneficial to someone. It needs to be compensated. But I wanted to address one other thing that you said about us being maybe not having enough courage. I really don't think that is the case. I see a lot of willingness and enthusiasm for people to build things. I'd say as a region, we are quite entrepreneurial. We need to channel this hard work and enthusiasm and competence to basically bring the better results. So make it more profitable, make it more sustainable, and all of that. But I think we do have the courage. We don't have the historical wealth to necessarily lean on that, because if you don't have the finances to not get paid for a year, that makes things dramatically different, which I think maybe our peers in Western Europe and the US have a little bit more of. But we are getting there.
Yeah, interesting perspective. I just wanted to point out this, because one of the things that we feel as founders is the fact that you always need to rely on double rounds of income, or trying to do the job in parallel with other things, and trying to get to raise money to make a big product and so on. So these are the things that I for sure know that people are struggling. But at the same time, this passion of building, it's something that it's really, I don't know, it's ingrained in us. So this is something that brings a lot of joy.
100%.
How
There's
do
no
you
point around that. You cannot suppress it, so it's sooner or later it will materialize.
Yeah. When I, like 1 year ago, I finished my last startup experience and I said to myself that I want to go and do consultancy. And
No.
yeah, and I met some extraordinary people that I'm working now with them, and somehow they convinced me to do again a startup. So it was an itch they scratched.
I think being a founder is not something you can overcome, right?
It's not a job.
It's not a job. It's something you have in you. It's almost like honestly a mental health issue, because why would you want to be a founder if you have everything right in your head? You wouldn't. So and that's not something you can cure, in my view, and there's no need for it. We're living in a great moment in time where we can actually afford to do that. Hopefully VC and angel investors, the ecosystem in the region is strengthening every day. There is still a lot to be desired in terms of amount of money on the market, because there is a huge gap between the number of people who are capable and hardworking enough to create a startup and crazy enough to create a startup, and the amount
More
of funding
crazy enough
that they need. So there is definitely a funding gap in the market. We're slowly feeling that, and hopefully we can bridge this, gap between you having the finances to start a company and actually making a jump. And this is something that I don't know if it's on your list of questions, but I guess that get asked that a lot. Okay, we don't have money to quit our jobs actually and become a full-time founder, but before you invest in us, you want us to have quit our jobs and become a founder. And I totally get that. The question for us is, what have you done before you actually come to us for money? Because we want to see, we don't like backing companies who are just waiting for a check to start building. It's not how it works. That doesn't show the founder mindset that we're looking for. You normally start doing something, and at some point you realize you don't have the finances to back it, and that's when you come to us, as opposed to almost seeking validation from VCs. That's never a good idea.
I totally get what you're saying, because I work with LAUNCHub, Launch Romania, the organization, and I did consultancy with startups, and many discussions were about me validating the idea instead of asking the hard questions. And I see that a lot for people who are waiting for external validation for something that they are building. And I don't know how to frame and help these people, because
external validation should only come from clients. That's the only place you want external, and you do want that validation.
Yeah,
but this
with money, especially.
Yeah.
But one thing that kept my perspective when you said is the craziness that we have. And most of the time, one of the things that it's like crazy, and I don't know how you look at it, how you look when you see the list of competitors in a market. Because if you look at the problems that people have, most of the time they are like really small, and sometimes you don't need to fix all the problems in this world, but sometimes a founder goes and tries to fix something. And sometimes you need to be delusional to go and compete with someone who is like enterprise selling to 6K per month, and you're trying to get 300.
It's not delusion though, is it? You're seeing something that they're not seeing and addressing. This goes back to the deep knowledge of the market. You understand the market better than anyone else, or at a very, very good level, and you're seeing an unmet need. If you're not seeing that, and if you're not 100% certain that nobody else is doing what you're doing to to a good enough quality, and you can bring that to the clients, don't do it. If you don't have that clarity of vision, I've realized that for myself when we invest in companies, for example, because we try to assess everything. We can never have, sufficient information, especially at the stage where we invest, where there's hardly any traction. The client validation is slim at best. So there's always more unanswered questions than we have. But then in the investments that I've been strongly in favor of and the ones that I've participated in, I've had this clarity of vision where I can see 100% that the company is on the right track. I can see their vision. I can see that there are conditions on the market that enable their success. This is the case, for example, with Untitled. I had such a clear, conviction there. I'm not saying this is the case for all of the companies, but that clarity of vision needs to be there at least to some extent. And to others that are not that familiar with your market, it seems like delusion. It could seem like, we have this saying in the team that whenever we make an investment, half the team is very bullish and loves the company and is 100% convinced that we should make the investment, and the other half thinks that the first half is idiots. So you have to be, from the side you might seem like an idiot to somebody, but the important bit is what information do you have that others don't, or don't understand as well as you do.
How you can make them understand? Like, this is a question that I have for a very long time. How you translate what you see as a founder for other people who are not in your head and need to see that vision.
You have to get good at storytelling and sales. It's a sales motion. You have to get good at that. And you get good at that by doing it many, many times. And eventually you start hitting the right spots. You start addressing the questions that people have, sometimes even before they've asked. You start understanding, when you speak to someone, you start understanding what concerns they might have, and you start addressing that. You just need to be a really good salesperson to do that.
Okay.
Any data you can bring helps. I always say this, it's very difficult to say no to good traction. But obviously at the early stages where we're at, that's not necessarily possible. That's where we come in and make it possible, hopefully. But yeah, get very good at sales. Take a course. Absolutely no problem with taking a course. Try selling anything to anyone and just get good at that.
Okay. Yeah, it was a very, for sure, as you said, that some people in the room will understand it, some not. And how you bridge the gap to at least give the glimpse not to be against you, but in the middle. So that's why.
That's the other thing, maybe just an insight. We are in a lot of VC firms. I don't want to speak for others, but the way we function is we have 8 people on the investment team. Most of us can lead deals. One person might say no to a deal. Listen very carefully to what they're saying no to, and maybe try somebody else on that team. We've had that happen in the past. One of us doesn't like a company. We could pass it between each other internally, but sometimes you just really don't like it and you just say no. And then somebody else on the team speaks with that company and they're like, wow, this is actually great. I'm going to make the deal. So don't be afraid to approach multiple people. Don't harass us.
From the same VC?
From the same VC. Make sure you understand why you're being told no by the first person. And then, don't just blast emails to everyone on the team, but understand why you're being told no. And if you think there is a lack of understanding, or maybe that person that has said no has other priorities at the moment and didn't pay enough attention, no worries about trying someone else. Try the same firm again in the future. No shame in that, no harm in that. But bring new data. If you're at the same stage you were at 6 months ago when we last spoke, and you come again with the same conversation, it's not going to work. Show some progress, show some what has happened in the business and all of that, and just be very pushy. Again, read the room and don't because sometimes it borders on harassment. Don't do that. Don't be afraid to be pushy, and speak to different people, speak to the same VC more than once.
Okay. That's an interesting perspective. It's the first time that I hear it, to look at the same VC from different people.
Yeah, this is the way we work. Other VCs might not take it the same way. Because in some teams it's like when we say no, it's a no, and we're not going to take a second conversation, but you have to understand what's the situation on the other side.
Good. Nice. I want to get in another topic that it's close to my heart, because like my wife, it's a founder, and how you look into the part where businesses are started by females. And do you have any data that a thing that I read, and I think businesses led by women are less risky but more profitable in long term. Businesses led by men are growing very fast but are unprofitable.
Well, there is a question, which one are you going to make more money on? Whether it's less risky, more steady profit, or high risk, high potential return. We don't, and I speak for the whole team, but especially for myself, I really don't care if a founder is male or female, or however they want to identify.
We are in Eastern Europe, we are safe.
Yeah, we're safe. My point is, I really don't care. I care about the essence of the business and the knowledge of the founder and the competence of the founder. That's all that matters. I can say that I've been able to identify patterns in different founders based on their gender. I think women founders tend to be a little bit more detail-oriented than male founders. But again, if you understand your market well enough, you're going to cover that, no problem. I genuinely don't have a pattern saying women are better at this, men are better at that. You're either a founder and a leader, or you're not. That's how I assess things. But I want to give you an example, because we constantly talk about how there's not enough women in VC tech, etc. We're actually in the part of the world that's greatly positioned in that respect. We statistically, just purely from a numbers perspective, statistically speaking, we're in the best place in the world to be in terms of gender equality in the workplace. And I just want to preface that I'm speaking about technology almost exclusively. I don't know other spaces that well. But from a technology perspective, we have great women representation. We have a lot of women leaders in those organizations. So we're in a good place from that perspective. Western Europe, the US, they definitely have a problem. I've worked in the UK. Discrimination was much more widespread and much more day-to-day occurrence than it is here. So they do have a problem, and because they talk about it a lot, we kind of tend to absorb that and think, how it reflects on us. We should definitely be mindful of that, but I think we're in a good place. That is not to say that we shouldn't encourage people of all backgrounds to participate in business life in general. But I want to mention a specific example. We are currently running this VC 101 course for students. It's just a fun thing we decided to do over the summer to basically share a little bit more about the VC profession with some young people who might not necessarily know what that's about. So they can, have it in mind as a career option, or just understand this world a little bit better. And we had quite a few applications, actually. We had tens of applications. We wanted to take 5 people. We ended up taking 12.
Okay.
But of all those people, it was almost 50-50 men and women, or boys and girls, because they are super young. The thing that impressed me is that actually, because we had a preliminary chat with all of the students we ended up taking on, all of the girls had started something themselves. It was really cool. So they were quite entrepreneurial.
Going into the final stages of our interview, I have 3 questions. First one, which are 3 books that are important for founders to read before pitching to LaunchHub?
Right. Okay. So I'll start with the mom test. This is essential to anyone before any conversation. It's a book about, you can read the summary online. I think you'll get the idea. Or if you want to dive into the whole book, by all means. It's a book about how to ask questions, essentially.
And not pitch your mom.
So this comes from a little bit of a Western perspective on how you would have a conversation with your mom. And the assumption is if you go and pitch something to your mom, she will be very supportive and tell you, yeah, it's great, you're doing great.
But the mothers from Eastern Europe?
Yeah. Feel free to pitch to your mom, no problem. But the idea is the following. You tend, when you ask questions, you normally tend to suggest the answers. So when you ask somebody, do you like this? You are more likely to get the answer, I like it, than any valuable feedback. Or what do you think about this? And stuff like that. So the book goes into detail about how to ask questions. It's more about extracting information than actually posing questions. And if I have to get the one concept out of it that's essential to understand, it's rely on past experience, not on what someone would do. So don't ask a question, what would you do in this situation? Ask the question, what have you done in a similar situation? So that's kind of the thing. There's plenty of books out there. If you want to raise funding, Venture Deals is a fantastic resource. It explains deal terms. I think that's a little bit
technical.
It is technical, and it is very useful when you close an actual venture round. It's definitely not a starter resource. You don't need that at first. I don't know. I'll have to come back to you on a third one because it's hard to pinpoint one.
I can give one. I don't know if you know the book of the Uri Levin, the founder of Waze. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
It sounds like based off the title. I don't know the book, but based off the title, sounds good.
It's a book it's really interesting because when you said how to navigate the venture industry, it popped up in my head because it is a full chapter how he raised the money for Waze and how he built different products in different markets, and it's really, really good book. For me, when I have some issues in the building a product, I just start to listen it and some connections in my head starts to go around. So it's very, very good. I recommend it.
Well, sounds amazing. Very cool.
Good. The second question, which is one slide that it's probably the most important in a pitch deck?
It's difficult to see things in isolation. A pitch deck should cover several key areas: problem, solution, team. I think those are the 3 key ingredients. If you don't have those 3, it's going to make it very hard for me to understand what you're doing. Don't overdo it on the problem. I would say most problems are very straightforward to understand unless you're working on something very niche or very not common sense. In that perspective, yes, please explain more, but many founders spend way too much time on the problem and not so much on the solution. I would say solution and team. Other things that are useful, traction or whatever it is you've done until now goes under traction. By the way, it's not just revenue. So anything you have done in way of developing the product or speaking to customers and stuff like that goes under traction. So that's very important to know. And market, look, if you're raising funding for the first time, look through the market from the perspective of who's your ICP, who's your ideal customer, and what is their situation. Describe to me in as much detail as you can who you're selling to, those personas you mentioned, the user, the buyer. That's important. If you want, go into the Tam Samsung space. I don't care about that. I always do the estimations myself. Most people do, because you're usually wrong. You've usually gone about it in a wrong way. So it's not very useful. But yeah, some comments about the market. Who are you targeting? But yeah, if I have to call out one key slide, I don't know, solution. What are you building?
Then the final question is related with what is the advice that for sure needs to remain on the internet for founders from your side?
That's interesting. Do something that you find interesting and that you find easy to do. Not saying do easy things, do something that's easy and interesting for you to do, and then the results will follow. I think that's the best way to approach your work life, or in general your life. Do things that you find interesting.
I would go a little deeper. How you define something interesting? Like can you give me some examples?
Well, that depends on whether you want to do it into a business, because you could be a founder and not necessarily have a high scale business, right? I mean, if I speak from a VC perspective, do something that's interesting for you, that you find easy to do on a huge market with lots of budgets.
Okay.
Right. But
more precise.
If you want to do something that's not venture scale, that's also fine. Like, I don't want to impose that on everyone, but from a venture perspective, make sure there is a huge market behind it, and or the progression to a big market, and the motivation to adopt your solution. So narrow it down like that. I find this thing interesting. I'm passionate about this thing. I don't like saying passionate, because that's honestly, it's bullshit. You cannot be passionate about something 24/7 over the course of 10 years. It's not going to happen. Do something that's interesting, and that you like doing, and ideally that you find easy to do, because it doesn't mean it's easy, but you find it easy. And make sure there's other people who care about that. Let's put it that way.
Good. Thank you very much, Raya, for...
It's very cool.
Last words, anything to share?
I'm looking forward to meeting everyone at How to Web. Let's go and have a great event. Keep building your stuff, and results will come. If you decided to be a founder, that's admirable. I really admire that. I think it's one of the most difficult things to do out there. I hope you enjoy the journey.
Știu, e finalul podcastului și vreau să-ți mulțumesc că ai ajuns până aici. Și în același timp partenerilor BCR, Google, How to Web și start-up.ro. Iar până la următorul episod, ca să ai ce face, te așteptăm pe LAUNCHub.ro, să intri în comunitatea Launch Romania, unde găsești evenimente și inițiative loved by Launch. Bye!